Hello and welcome to episode 291 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook. We're at 77 Club Podcast on X. We're on YouTube, Spotify. Please subscribe and tell a friend.
Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody.
Right, Harry. Well, we weren't very hopeful before the game. Aston Villa at home under the lights at Molineux Saturday night. We brought our secret weapon with us, which was my neighbour Taylor. He is 2 for 2 on Wolves games, having seen us beat Man United and Villa. Jack's never allowed to go again. He's a bad omen. His last game was Coventry. So where do we start? Let's start with the team. Totti coming in. I think I said last week he probably deserves a start. I think you said the same as well. We also had a little bit of a conversation about Bellegarde and his best position on the podcast last week. I said, come on, you've got to play him down the middle. And guess what? It paid dividends, didn't it?
Yeah, just on your first point about not being confident and your neighbour Taylor being a good omen, that's when my mind changed. As soon as you said Taylor was coming. Now, to be fair, we were quite listening back to last week's podcast. We were quite negative and downbeat, and then as the days went on after doing the podcast, I read about all the stats of how bad their Champions League, one they've played in the week, how bad they've been. They've only beat us. Funnily enough, they'd only beat us after playing the Champions League. So that perked me up a bit. And obviously, injuries and all the Duran stuff, the Duran going to Saudi, the Watkins being a bit unsettled. I just felt like we could do something. But then on the day when the team come out, as you just alluded to, when I saw Sarabia and Bellegarde were starting, I lost all confidence again. I was like, oh no. And then it turns out they were the two best players on the pitch for us on the day. So whoever could, look, fair play to Vitor. That's why, well, particularly me, I'm just a clueless fan who sits in the stands talking shit, and he's a Premier League manager because he sees them in the week, and he obviously could see that coming. And Bellegarde, I think we referenced his first ever game against Liverpool. He played midfield and he had a really good debut. That was the only other time I can remember him actually having an amazing game like that. So hats off to him. Totti Gomez being back in there was just amazing, wasn't he? Him and Agbadou. And again, another decision he made, which I disagreed with. For the game, I would have dropped Doherty and put Agbadou right centre back and kept Santi in. But now, in hindsight, he made the absolutely correct decision, putting Agbadou in the middle and keeping Doherty on the right centre back. So yeah, a fair play to Vitor, because I've criticised him for a good 4 weeks in a row about his team selection, but he got it absolutely spot on. The only criticism I have got really is that we weren't 4-0 up at half time. And obviously we got a little bit lucky with the VAR offside decision. I know there's a big debate on that, but a vital win, particularly with the results on the day. And the biggest thing for me as well, Molineux was good to be at, a really good atmosphere. It felt a bit like the old Molineux again. Obviously, he's gone after a great win against your local rivals.
Absolutely. Maximus says he heard Harry was dissing him and that he's upped his game. I guess that's Bellegarde. Thomas says played class Totti, was superb, missing link with Agbadou. Bellegarde has found his new position. Are you surprised, Jack, that Bellegarde came in and did that? It seemed that there was just a little bit more push in midfield. I suppose we're used to João Gomez and Andre, fairly similar players, more ball-winning midfielders than sort of driving through defences.
Was I surprised? Yes, just because everything we've seen of Bellegarde this season suggests that wasn't going to happen. I know we were discussing he was going to come in for obviously to cover the suspension last week, and I kind of forgot about Bellegarde. It was like, well, it's going to be Tommy Doyle, and part of that is because we've just every time we see him or he plays, pretty much all the time lately, he's playing out on the wing, isn't he, pretty much? So he's playing on the side rather than playing centrally. And I think probably because he's had a lot of stick lately himself, he thought, right, this is probably my opportunity now to go there and show them that I'm the player that they saw so much promise in. And we probably saw hints of that promise at the very start when you referenced his first game there. So pleased for him. Didn't see it coming. But pleasantly surprised all the same. And like Harry, he's called out Sarabia as well, who played well. Players coming in, did really well. I thought it was harsh as well to drop Santi Breno, which Harry's already referenced, but it all came together on the day. The only problem is when it got to half time and we're in that position, 1-0 up, and we're thinking, we've had 3 chances here, like probably 2 for Guedes, 1 for Cunha, where this game should be absolutely dead and buried. And we all know what's going to happen here is Villa are going to come out in the second half and be a lot better. And when that moment where they where the goal that wasn't a goal in the end, but it's debatable whether it is a goal or not. That was eventually ruled offside for VAR, went in. My immediate reaction was, oh, for God's sake, here we go. And we got away with one on VAR there, I think, because if I'm being honest, I don't think it should have been ruled out. I think it's ridiculously harsh. If it was against us, I wouldn't have been happy. At the same time, we've been on the side of worse calls than that, I think. So screw it, we just got to take it. But it's one of those where if that goal had gone in, that whole last remaining part of that game would have been completely different. And Villa could have arguably gone on and won it. But because we kept our noses in front in that situation, we managed to, get the 3 points and a great goal by Cunha at the end to see it off. But the problem is, it should never have even been a thought in that position, because that game should have been over in the first half, because we were absolutely brilliant. One of the best halves of football that we've had this season by a long way, under real pressure. And when they've seen the results go really favourably for us, again, as they have on many occasions this season, you put a bit of pressure on them just before, and hopefully it gave them a little bit of a kick up the arse and they went out and performed. So fair play to them. It was pretty much the perfect day. Only thing is that game should have been outside at half time, in my opinion.
Completely agree, 100%. I mean, Harry, we were there at half time going, I don't understand how it's only 1-0, like Jack alluded to there. 2 goals potentially for Guedes. I mean, you'd normally put your house on Cunha scoring from that sort of position as well. Disappointing with those sort of finishes. I know Guedes sort of just flashed wide for the one, but it was really weird, because I think it's the first time at a match I've certainly been at since the rule change where a manager has made 4 changes at half time, and one of them coming off was, of course, the talisman that is normally Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, he was so quiet, wasn't he, Watkins? You forgot he was on the pitch, really. I thought Agbadu in particular did really well against him. Just on the substitutes that Unai Emery made, I got flashbacks to Villa Park, because if you remember back in that fixture, we battered them that first half, went 1-0 up, didn't capitalise on it, and ended up losing 3-1 and crumbling because O'Neill got tactically outdone by Unai Emery. This time he made subs. I shit my pants, but we stayed strong, didn't we? We stayed strong, and I think if that offside would have been given as a goal, it'd have been a completely different game, because Villa in the early parts of that second half were all over us, like they were. On the offside, I agree with Jack. Like, I'd be fuming if that was against us, and I'd be saying there's no way. But I think the rules are rules, and they're saying that he stops Semedo, aren't they? It's a stupid rule. It's a terrible rule. But as we know, we've had so many bad ones. We'll take it. We needed a bit of luck, and then we got the luck we needed by that not being given. And apart from Cunha's chance and a few free kicks second half, I can't really remember many chances we had. So we were hanging on, but we defended really well. And like Agbadu being in the middle just felt so much safer. And it was just a joy to watch, really, and the fight from the players. Wow, it's Sarabia and Bellegarde that showing the most fight out of anyone. Which if you'd told me I'd been saying that a few weeks ago, I'd have laughed at you. So yeah, and we didn't really miss Gomez, which is mad because he's been one of our best players this year. Andre was amazing, just sitting while Bellegarde ran forward, and the players that come on as well. Fair play to them, like Rodrigo Gomez come on, Doyle. A few others. I know Santi come on really late. Wang come on and got the assist, technically. I know it come off the Villa player's head, but he got the assist for the Cunha goal. He's the one who kicked it up there. And for me, Cunha didn't have the best of games. He was strolling around again. I was getting frustrated with him again, with his body language at times. But he showed how good he is as a footballer, because when he gets that chance second half, he redeems himself for that poor miss. You'd say he should have took that one away first half. Redeems himself, scores it, and then any criticism I've aimed at him, like I said, I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire last week. As soon as I saw him kissing the badge, I'm back to kissing his feet again. Pickle FC, I don't care, man. I love him now. I'm going to get a tattoo of him and everything. And then he signed the contract, so I love the bloke now. He's back in my good books. No more horrible words for you, Cunha.
until Sunday.
Yeah, till the next game. Cameron says it was a very tense second half, nail biting at times. It really was. People in and around me were just sort of lying back in the chair thinking, I just can't take this. Wolfie says the linesman flagged it offside. That was obviously the Villa non-goal, but first I thought they're rather looking for the Villa player foul and obstruction against Semedo, but whatever, it was disallowed. Max says, Guedes, I kept saying, whether Guedes' goals start going in could end up being the difference. Completely agree with that as well.
So,
Jack? what do you think of Cunha's performance though? Because it was very strange. Because I was same as Harry saying, I'm not really sure about the body language. I'm not really sure if he's trying or if he's a bit up in the air about a move. And then obviously it's announced that he signed a new contract after the game.
I think his performance was definitely better than the ones we've seen in recent weeks, to be honest. His chance in the first half, I agree. He just seemed a little bit complacent with it and a little bit slow, didn't he? Because at one point I thought he was going to get caught by the defender, and I think that maybe that rushed him a little bit. But if you watch that back, he hits it so close to Martinez that really it's a fairly comfortable save for him, where he really should have done a lot better. So I think disappointed with that one. However, to chase that ball down, later on in the game, and the thing that for the second goal, for his goal, the thing that really sticks out is how he absolutely sells those Villa players down the river by dropping his shoulder but not moving the ball, and then straight away just hits it back across goal. But they weren't expecting it. It was a great bit of skill, because all he does is just move his body and not the ball, and then bang, and he's made him run around the ringer, really. So fair play to him, and I hope now that's the turning point. New contract, transfer window shut, and we can kick on, and he can go to be the player that we've seen him be this season and know he can be, because that little head wobble that he's got from speculation is gone, at least until the summer now, which is really good. Question, Strand Larsen, did we miss him?
No. I thought, although Guedes should have had a hat-trick and missed a few really good chances, his all-round play was amazing. His energy, obviously you're not going to expect him to hold the ball up much, but he was everywhere, running in behind, making the Villa defenders have a lot to think about, and obviously Bellegarde overlapping him as well. We didn't miss him at all. And I think Strand Larsen needed a break, so I think the injury has come at a good time. I think he needs a little bit of a break, regroup, and go again, because he's played so much football. He'd lost his form for me. So even if he'd have been fit, I wouldn't have been against changing him anyway and starting Guedes. So yeah, fair play to Guedes. But again, if Strand Larsen would have missed those chances, we'd be on here now criticising him hard. So you've got to criticise Guedes for his finishing.
That's what I was thinking. I think if Strand Larsen had the same chances at Guedes, he would have scored at least one of them. I know he's been a bit ropey in recent weeks, and I think that's probably the difference. So I agree with Guedes, and his all-round play was good. I do think Strand Larsen would have been more likely to get us that second goal that we really needed in that first half. So, we'll see. It's nice to at least have the option, but obviously when he's injured and we got no strikers, really, no out-and-out strikers on the books, it's a difficult one. But yeah, it was nice that it worked, but whether it'll work for the rest of the season or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. But one thing I would say is a shout out to Aït-Nouri, Harry. Some brilliant trickery from him that obviously we know that he is good at. It's obviously a huge part of his game, getting out of those tight spaces and setting up chances. I suppose what you just want from him and the Sarabias and the Bellegardes, I suppose, of the world, is you just want the consistency. You want those 1 in 4 or 5 performances to be, coming round a little bit more, because we just don't seem to have it. We've, I think, spoken on this podcast probably last season and this season the most, singing their praises one week and then heavily disappointed them in the next. And, it's just, do you think Vitor is going to start to get a little bit more consistency with them as he starts to obviously spend more time with them and through to the end of the season?
Yeah, I think with Aït-Nouri, I think the consistency is the reason why he's playing for Wolves and not playing for Liverpool or Man City. Like you say, if he did it every week, he wouldn't be a Wolves player. But when he's on it, he's incredible. He's one of the best, particularly going forward. He's one of the best left wing backs in the league for me. The trickery, him and Cunha, that one bit down the left hand side when he give it to Aït-Nouri and he kind of scooped it back round the back and Cunha ran onto it. It's little things like that. It's just improvisation and class in it. That's just some talent people are not capable of. And when he's on it, he's on it. And defensively, I think we've said before, he's marked Salah out of the game a few times. We've played Liverpool. So if he could be concentrating all the time, he'd be at the very, very top level. So yeah, really good performance from him. I think everybody had a good game, didn't they? I can't really think of anyone who was horrendous. So even Sarr, I haven't seen many people mention Jose Sarr. He pulled off 2 really good saves second half, and we've criticised him a lot, particularly under O'Neill. He seems to have got rid of his stupid moments as well. Like, he just gets rid of it. He don't piss about with the ball at his feet anymore. So yeah, shout out to Jose Sarr as well, because I think he was a bit of an unsung hero on the day.
What we do a score prediction? Man of the match, Jack?
Oh, you've got to give it to Bellegarde, haven't you? Like, let's be fair. I think, especially with all the criticism that he's had from us, from pretty much every Wolves fan, really. I mean, I've said that I don't know what he offers when he comes on. He can't beat a player, and yet some of the balls he was playing, leading to goals on Saturday, where he proved that he can do it. So hopefully he can carry on doing it now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, Harry, for me, it would probably come down to Bellegarde. I think a big shout out to Totti. Just slotted straight back in, almost back to his best, and what we know and love him. But Agbadou as well. Thought positioning was great. The only thing that lets him down is he cannot pass. That's hopefully something that he's going to work on, because I can't think if he completed any. It just seems to pass it straight out or to a Villa player.
Yeah, he's done it every game now, hasn't he? It's like his action replay early on, he'll whack a few out for a throw in, just shank them, but then he grows into the game. Man of the match, yeah, it is Bellegarde, like you've just said. Totti, Agbadou, Sarabia. I think you could even throw Doherty in there as a contender. There's so many good performances, but Bellegarde, probably the shock factor more than anything, puts him up there. But yeah, getting a goal. Was everywhere, wasn't he? He was everywhere. He was actually trying to take people on as well. When he plays on the right wing, right forward, you want him to take people on that position. He never does, but for some reason against Villa, he'd pick up the ball, he'd just run down the line with it and run at people. So yeah, Bellegarde, man of the match. Fair play to him, man.
Andy says, I couldn't give a gnat's chuff, Sam. He can defend. Yeah, that's right, Andy, but defending a throw-in. Keith says, other than the commitment with speed and passing and playing to feet, players not isolated in position to receive a pass. I have to agree with Harry that Strand Larsen was not missed. Max says we could probably debate up to 5 man the match performances, and that's why it was such an important performance. Lots of love out there for Bellegarde. I didn't think we'd be saying that this time last week. Very, very interesting. Let's move on to obviously the January transfer window, which slammed shut. Harry, what sort of window was it? You've named the video Jeff Shi and Wolves fans good books after signing 2 players on deadline day. We're the second biggest spenders in the league, apart from Manchester City. £176 million they spent. We were around the 40 million mark, sort of unofficially, but sort of totting it up. Decent window?
Yeah, especially I think you've got to throw in the fact that Cunha eventually signed the new deal as well after the Villa game. I was not. If you'd have asked me to bet on it last week, I didn't think we were going to get another 2 players in, honestly. And then especially when the Danso deal fell through after the Villa game, when he ditched us for Spurs, when the medical was ready to go and everything, they had it all lined up. I thought, we're definitely going to get a defender in now. So you've got to give him a bit of credit, man, to have one lined up and done within like 24 hours, getting into Giga. And he looks really good as well, to be fair. So he don't look like a desperation signing. He must have been on their list. And a midfielder as well. Obviously, Agbadou's been an incredible signing, really. He has looked really good. And we haven't spent mad money, have we, on him? We said a few years ago, didn't we? Like the Lamina and Dawson deal showed that you can find players for reasonable money. You don't have to go mad and sign a Fabio Silva for 35, 40 million. So I'm happy. I did a video on my YouTube channel about it, actually. They've had to, because of the homegrown rule, Sasa Kalajic, we've just been talking about like strikers and no backup strikers to Strand Larsen and Guedes and that. He's coming back to fitness now. He's recovered from his ACL. He's back first team training, but he's been unregistered from the squad to fit in the new boys. So he'll probably go out on loan or something. But yeah, so to make the window a 10 out of 10, I'd have said we'd have to, bring a striker in as well. But I think the reason we couldn't was because of the homegrown rules. You're only allowed 17 non-homegrown players, and we're maxed out. Obviously, Lamina leaving freed up space. They've unregistered Yerson Mosquera as well because of his ACL injury. He wouldn't have been available anyway. So yeah, 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me, just above par. They did what they promised. All window, Vitor said they've told me they're going to get 2 defenders in, the midfielder in. That's what I want. And they've actually told a manager something and done it. Usually they tell a manager something and don't do it. So as much as Jeff Shi is a knob, I'll be honest, ticket price rises and he's not made very many good decisions over the last 3 or 4 years. Well done to Jeff Shi, Matt Hobbs, I guess Fosun. They've actually backed the manager. So I think you've got to say, well done. Obviously, you've got a lot to do to get back on the fan base's good books. A lot to do. Start with the ticket prices, maybe, and then we might have a conversation. But yeah, I suppose they've done the minimum they're expected to do.
So complete the double signing, obviously, of Red Star Belgrade defender Nasser Dajiga and Rem midfielder Marshall Manetzi. Both have signed permanent deals and joined, as Harry says, Emmanuel Agbadou, who also came from Rem, in moving to the club in January transfer window. So Burkina Faso international Dajiga is 22 years old, has made 27 appearances for Red Star Belgrade this season, including all 8 games in their Champions League campaign. Manetzi's 28, played 159 times for Rem, scoring 21 goals. He's made 29 appearances for Zimbabwe. Dajiga has signed a 4.5-year deal. Manetzi has a 3.5-year deal until 2029. Both have options of a further 12 months. It looks like some good business, Jack. Max has got a comment here. I know a Red Star supporter. While they had a rocky start, Nasser became, in some of their fans' eyes, their player of the season. Very physical, reasonable skill levels, but may struggle with faster players potentially. What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts? Never heard of either of them. No idea, to be brutally honest. And I think that's probably the same case for 99% of most honest Wolves fans, because my Serbian Premier League or Burkina Faso national team knowledge are not quite up there, to be brutally honest. So I really don't know, but you've got to put faith in them, because the other signing that they made this window has proved to be incredibly successful. I mean, slotted in very quickly, arguably a slightly ropey start, but still physical attributes were there for all to see from the start. So hopefully it can be a similar sort of embed themselves quite quickly and be around the first team. I think that's the goal, and that's what we need. So it's nice that we got 2 players in. I'm glad that Harry's apologised, because he said there was no chance of us getting any more than 1 in, because we'd seen it all before. It happens every January, every season, and especially when the Danso one fell through. I'm sure he thought the same thing was definitely happening. So, I think quite pleased with the way it's all panned out. We needed players. And interesting what Harry was saying about the striker there, because I think that is what would have made it a really good window, because that's where we're lacking, particularly, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, with Strand Larsen being injured. And it's quite funny that you said the homegrown rule is why we couldn't, and because there's no chance of obviously if us even thinking of signing an English player to work around that. Or a Welsh player. I think you could have Kiefer Moore back, couldn't you? Technically, but yeah. So. But all in all, they said they would deliver. We were sceptical about it, particularly when we won a few games. We thought that they might say, "Oh no, we're safe now. You're clear of Ipswich and Leicester. You'll be fine. There's no need to invest." But they've gone out there. We've spent the second highest, like you said already, only behind Man City. So I think looking at it on paper, they're doing the same as they kind of did under Lopetegui, where they don't want us to get relegated, and they're back in the manager. So. Obviously, until we see them play, we don't really know. We don't really know, because I don't know much about them. But it's promising in the fact that there was actually stuff going on there, rather than just sort of hot air and rumours about stuff that would eventually fall through. But I think we should also talk about the rumour of the day as well. The rumour of deadline day.
That just come to me as you were talking, then, Jeff.
Go on,
sorry, you're obviously on about Cody.
Yeah.
I mean. It went mad, didn't it, for a few hours? And I get the nostalgia feel, and I get like the memories, and he'd have been a leader. He'd have been encouraging the lads. He'd have been a homegrown player. Dawson obviously is a homegrown player as well. But my logic, if you take all emotion out of it, and I'll probably get a bit of stick for saying this, I think it'd have been a bit of a risk in strengthening a relegation rival. Dawson is not the same player as he was 12 months ago. We know that. He's had surgery in the summer. He's come back this season. He's lost a yard of pace. He's not the same bloke he was. But if he's found a bit of inspired form for Leicester and shored their defence up a bit, and for some reason, it'd have been unlikely, obviously, it would have been unlikely. But if for some reason he shored their defence up and they stayed up instead of us because of it, and we got Cody, and imagine how mad our fans would go. I mean, it's a nice story, but for that risk, I don't think it's worth it. Maybe bring him back in the summer, I don't know, as a 5th choice centre back. I don't know. But it was, I as soon as I saw it, I was kind of like, that can't happen. But if you believe reports, Cody was all over it, was dying for it to happen. He was responding to people on Instagram, like Wolves fans on Instagram, like speaking to fans saying, "I want it." Yeah, it's true. Like there's been discussions, but Leicester are the ones that pied it away. Wolves were up for it as well, apparently, but it was Leicester that didn't want to do it because they probably saw it the other way. They probably thought we don't want to strengthen Wolves if we're in it, giving them a big lift, getting one of their legends back there. So yeah, it was fun while it lasted. Obviously, people got carried away, but Sky Sports squashed the rumours pretty quick, didn't they? It didn't last very long.
It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, Jack? Because, I mean, I suppose you could understand it that Vitor clearly wants to play with 3 centre-backs. There's probably thinking of maybe yesteryear more than currently, but in terms of players in the Premier League that can play that sweeper role in the style that he can, obviously there's not many that fill that, but I just didn't see anything in it, and I almost had a little bit of a panic when I saw the rumours come through at first, because I was just like, I always say never go back, because it just never pans out, very, very rarely. And I think there are better options, as Harry's just said, and a fit Craig Dawson, I think, is unfortunately better than a fit Connor Cody.
I honestly thought it was like an April Fool when I first saw it. And the problem is when you first read the tweet, you just think, okay, that's a fish wrapper, as Bayliss would call it. But it's the source, wasn't it? The source that it was actually John Percy means there was something in it going on there. And just a strange one, really, just from start to finish, because I agree with you, Sam. I think going back is often. Are there any real occasions where a player has gone back to a club and it's been anything like it was the first time?
Phoebe.
Phoebe. But Rooney went back to Everton.
Ronaldo went back to Man United. This is one of the greatest players that's ever lived.
Yeah. Exactly. It just always seems to just peter out and not be the same. And I understand it from it just again, because we've been saying on this pod a few times, is what we want to do is not strengthen a rival. Well, it's not as good as it was, though, is it? But no. And the fact that us and Leicester were talking about swapping defenders just worried me, because we all know what could happen. It could go either way. It's risky for both parties, because Dawson could go there and find the form that kept us up, and suddenly he's like revitalised, and we're thinking, bloody hell, it's exactly the same as what happened when he came in for us.
Yeah, January signing. Yeah,
Cody could come in, lift the dressing room, play in the middle of a back five, and suddenly we're not letting in goals all of a sudden. So, I mean, I think both of those are unlikely, but there's a chance for either way. So you don't want to be doing deals with your relegation rivals in January when you're in a relegation battle, do you? So I think that's probably ultimately why it fell through. But when I first read it, I thought it was like a transfer you get on deadline day when you're playing FIFA and you're just messing about. Oh, let's swap him for him. Like, I can't believe there was actually anything in it, but the sources suggest there were. Cody suggests that obviously there must have been. So
if you to believe some Twitter rumors and things like that, allegedly, for one, Dawson does not get on well with Vitor Pereira, apparently. This is what's come out. And apparently Dawson had a massive bust up with Lamina, like a proper scuffle in a hotel before a game or something. This has just come out. This could be absolute bullshit, but that's just the rumours. But yeah, he hasn't really given Dawson much of a chance, has he? I know he played away at Spurs on the left side of the free, and he had a bad game. But for me, not many people are crying for. I thought Dawson might come back in. I thought he might in recent weeks, just when we were leaking goals again. But Vitor just don't seem to fancy him, does he? So it would have made, if it had happened, I'd have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because Vitor clearly doesn't like Dawson. But just going back on just what we're talking about, Cody and like people who want to play for the club and love the club. Nassar De Jigger, what I really liked about him is obviously we had the Danso stuff where he turned us down twice. He apparently turned down a few clubs and picked Wolves. Like he said, no, Wolves is the place I want to be. I want to be in the Premier League. And I can't remember the other clubs that come in. I think Galatasaray was one, actually, ironically, where Lamina's just gone. But he was like, no, Wolves is the one for me. And he was like, get me there. So I love that about that signing. And with the Marshall and Manetzi one, we might have another Raul Jimenez on our hands, because he has lit up the Zimbabwe media. Like, their fans, if you go on any comment section, he's here, man. So on my YouTube channel, every other day you see Zimbabwe flags, you know what I'm doing here. Zimbabwe King comes to Molyneux. So yeah, He's obviously Chirewa. He plays for Zimbabwe. Well, doesn't he? Just gone out on loan to Huddersfield. So he plays for the Zimbabwe national team with him, and he's their main man, Munetsi. They love him. So that'll be interesting. We're going to see a lot of from Zimbabwe turning up at Molineux, a bit like the South Korean effect with Wang. So yeah, and I like the look of him. He gets a lot of goals. He chips in with a lot of goals, Munetsi, and very powerful lad. And we're a sport for choice in midfield now, all of a sudden, especially with Bellegarde playing there as well.
Yeah, and obviously, when you look at players that have come from Red Star Belgrade, obviously only one, and it was Nenad Milias, and I wonder if Tajiga smokes as much as Milias did. So he's about 40 a day, wasn't he, Milias?
What happened with the Ukrainian lad in the end? Because there was a lot of people like that one, wasn't there? And that fell through.
Fabrizio said we'd put a bid in on the Saturday, and then apparently their club president come out and said that Vladimir Brasco said, "I don't like the position Wolves are in. Basically, they're too close to the relegation zone for my liking." So apparently he turned it down. So there we go.
Fair enough. Can't blame him, really.
No, this is honest, because I think we were talking, weren't we, Harry, before and after the game, I think against Villa, about Danso, and it looked like he was coming and stuff. And I did say to you, didn't I? I was like, I'm not really sure I want him. It seems to me like we're so desperate to get players in that will take anybody, and it just reminded me a little bit of the Nunes deal, and obviously how that all panned out 12 months later. And I was like, do you really want to be sat here in 12 months' time actually hating the guy and stuff like that? And also, do you want a guy who played for Southampton in the 9-0 loss to Leicester? Because that is Kevin Danso. Let's have a look at Mario Lemina. He has landed at Galatasaray. So £2.5 million move, it looks like, Harry. But this, very interestingly, he becomes the fourth player in 4 years, captain to leave Wolves. So Cody left loan to Everton summer 2022. Neves obviously went to Al Hilal 2023. Kilman in the summer of 24 to West Ham. And then Lemina off to Galatasaray. It just shows that actually, in terms of the structure of the team, over the last couple of years, and arguably you'd say in probably some of the worst football we've been playing, there's been no leadership or consistency.
Yeah, I just can't believe. Imagine if you'd have said in the summer when we did that first podcast, our predictions, no one would ever have said, yeah, Lemina's going to lose his head, get the captaincy stripped, and move to Galatasaray in January. You'd have just been like, stop making up some stupid stories. And I think he handled himself so badly, Lemina. Obviously, not just the West Ham thing, the way he refused to play against Newcastle. His social media activity today, before it was even announced to Galatasaray, he put like big things loading, like something as a 13-year-old put it there Instagram bio, then obviously changes it to Galatasaray. And he's ruined his legacy at Wolves. He got player of the season last year. He kept us up until Lopetegui. And I think it's a disgrace. We criticised and booed Nunes when he refused to train. Lemina refused to play a match. So he's done worse than Nunes for me. So, yeah, good riddance to him. If you don't want to play, sod off. I ain't bothered.
What do you think, Jack? I mean, it's probably not a bad deal for both parties, really. I mean, I think we probably paid about £9 million for him 2 years ago, sort of wanting to offload him. Looks like £2.5 million deal.
The first thing is, I think it's a bit rich for Harry to be calling out people for what they put on social media. No, just to be in general, like, you know.
What, my Instagram? What I put on Instagram?
No, not Instagram. Just, you know, just your general, you know, you're calling him out for being like a 13-year-old or something. It's like when you're vlogging yourself at the football.
Do I put stuff like a 13-year-old on my social media? Oh, sorry. I didn't know what you were on about. I thought I'd done something exactly.
I don't know about your Instagram, but it's just, I think we said it a few weeks. It's just a shame the way it's ended, isn't it? It's like one of them. So what can you do? He didn't want to be here. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. The captaincy got to him. He's done this before. He's got form, hasn't he? So it's not like the you know, the massive surprise. So let him go to Turkey and, you know, see how it goes. But it wouldn't surprise me if the same thing happens in a year's time. That he's then back on the market to come back to the Premier League or to France or something because he's not happy there. So whatever. Thanks for keeping us up that season and everything you did. But, you know, I don't think there'll be much love lost if we play you again in future.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Let's move on then to Blackburn. Been a while since we played them, Harry. I think in the last 5 games, it's 3 draws, 2 wins for Wolves. I told you at the weekend it's part of the master plan. Win the FA Cup, qualify for Europe, stay up. Job's a good one. What do you reckon?
I don't know. It's just in a weird way. I don't think. I think it's come at a bad time, this FA Cup game, because we had that win against Villa. It'd been nice to have gone straight into another Premier League one and build off the back. I know it's Liverpool, but still would have been high. Yeah, but I just think it's come at a bit of a bad time for me. You want this game when you're having a bit of a rot in the Premier League, but if you're judging off the Bristol game, the last round, I think we're going to see a strong team again. Now, I'll probably last time before the Bristol game, we thought we'd see a really weak team. He might throw in the new lads. He might start to Jigger and Manetzi, but I think the rest of the team will be pretty similar. And it's a very winnable tie, isn't it? I know a bit of a nostalgia feel to it with Danny Bath and Andy Wyman and Dion Sanderson, I think, plays for him as well. So, yeah, good away end. I think I've seen some more tickets went on sale today, didn't they? But I think it's pretty much sold out. 12:30 on a Sunday is a bit naff, but at least it's on the BBC. And I think it's a very winnable tie, and I think Vitor, I kind of like that about him. I like the fact he played a strong team last round, despite us being in a really struggling position. He showed a bit of respect to the cup, and I think he will again. And we should blow Blackburn away, really, if we play one of our strongest 11 and are up for it. We should blow them away, and I'm looking forward to it. A bit of a change. Bit of a crap kick-off time, as I've said, but hopefully we can get through.
What do you reckon, Jack? Good opportunity to, not exactly throwing the new signings in at the deep end, but, potentially give them a little bit of run out, see what they're about, and maybe look at Liverpool.
It's one of those, isn't it, where after getting that win against Villa, that was kind of the more important thing, wasn't it? So yeah. I'm not as up for this as I probably was even for the Bristol City game. That said, it's an opportunity to progress. And I think there is a chance here to, like you say, not throw the new players in the deep end, but let's at least see a little bit of them, get them out there under very little pressure, really, because obviously I want to go through. I'd like a cup run, but it's not the most important thing with the position that we're in. I know it was a good win at the weekend, but the reality is we are still 2 points above the relegation zone, and ultimately relying on other teams being crap is what we've been doing for the majority of this season as to why we're in that position. Another year in the Premier League, if we had different teams, we could be comfortably in the bottom 3 by now and with a real battle to climb. It's just the fact that tail's been really, really long. So I don't think we can get complacent. What we need to do really is try and build for next season now. And the way you do that is by putting a run together this season and stopping those results in the Premier League. So a cup run could accompany that. Realistically, though, I don't think we've got much chance of getting probably even as far as we did last year, because it just takes one draw, doesn't it? And then you're really in trouble. But while we're getting favourable draws, we should take it. So I think it will be a strong team, but probably not as strong as what we saw against Bristol City, which really did surprise everybody. I think it will be the likes of Dawson will probably feature, that sort of thing, and maybe a couple of the new guys. But yeah, Rodrigo Gomez probably a start as well. So I think it won't be the same team by any stretch, but it will probably still be 5 or 6 well-known familiar faces. Tommy Doyle probably a start, like that sort of thing, I think, which I'm perfectly okay with.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Harry, a score prediction?
Well, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Wolves 4, Blackburn 1. Why not?
It's got to happen. Jack?
Straight to penalties again, is it? No messing about. Same old thing.
Yeah, I think it's extra time and penalties, I think, every round, yeah.
1-1 in normal time. Wolves to win on penalties.
Oh, excellent. Right. Okay.
Bit of entertainment for everybody.
James is bringing in the nostalgia. 1960 FA Cup final, of course. Wolves 3, Blackburn 0. Last time we won it, so there you go. Not quite the final. Not quite. Let's turn our attentions to a funny story. I don't know if you've seen this, but a pub landlady has said there's been a global response to the story of her offering a free pint every time Nottingham Forest scored at the weekend. Obviously, they won 7-0. So Becky Webster, who runs the Gedling Inn in Nottinghamshire, admitted Nottingham Forest victory over Brighton on Saturday led her to give away how many pints do you reckon?
So
at least 700.
That outskirts of Nottingham.
And does this just count to people who were in the pub at the time of the goal? What are the rules?
Yeah. So if they're in there watching it and there's a goal, you get your drink.
1,500.
I'm going to go. Can I have a guess?
You can.
I don't know how big the pub is.
So if you give 7 pints away to, probably, if it's a small pub on the outskirts, there's probably about 20 people in there. So I'll go. Maybe some left, too drunk. I'm going to go for like 950 pints or something.
It was 300 pints. So it cost £1,500. So bit of an anticlimax, that story.
It's not that bad, is it?
No, it's absolutely fine. That's absorbable. She said she had messages from as far afield as Australia, where we're massive, the US, Brazil, and Poland, as well as numerous media interviews, mostly seeing if we were still in business. Apparently, they were saying, "Do you want to call it off at half time?" And to be fair, she said no. But there you go. It doesn't happen very often, which led me on to something which I saw, which was the number of pubs within 1 mile of all the Premier League grounds. Very interesting. Wolves are actually second.
Oh, wow.
Do you know how many pubs are in Wolverhampton? Like a mile radius of Molineux?
It's got to be like
I've seen
200.
this before. But I don't believe it. It can't be that many, can it? It's probably like within a mile radius, about 40.
It's 50 pubs.
Oh, well, but then I was way off.
you were, yeah. And we're in second. And so, yeah, number 1 is the place where there's nothing to do. Correct. Yes. 174 pubs. Incredible. That is a lot of pubs, isn't it? 174 within a mile.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, we mentioned Taylor at the beginning. I was speaking to him before the game, Sam. And I was saying to him about Molineux being, there aren't many grounds now, is there, that are in the middle of the city centre? Obviously, Newcastle's definitely one, we're one. But a lot of them, we were just talking about how the new grounds, when they build them, they're always outside the city, off the slip road of a motorway, aren't they? A new, nice bowl stadium in the middle of nowhere. So I think it'd be such a shame if Molineux was to move. And I thought it was more than 50. When I just think, I suppose, a mile radius. Just feels like there's millions of pubs in Wolverhampton, doesn't it? But Newcastle...
A mile probably from. Would you say the Hogshead is a mile?
That's definitely included. It's quite a lot, a mile, when you think about it.
Yeah, mile radius,
all the way around. It's quite a big catchment area. I think the funniest thing about that though is any like away fan will be thinking, "Oh bloody hell, Wolverhampton's good, isn't it?" Like, you get the Premier in, and you can bloody.
Oh, you can go to fucking Birmingham. That's where you can go.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Weirdly, Villa have eight pubs within 1 mile.
Is that it?
Place in Villa Park. It's sort of just houses.
It's a bit out of the way, though, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Bournemouth and Vitality Stadium have got 7. Crystal Palace have got 7. That's quite surprising. Being London, Leicester City
Birmingham
7.
On there, Birmingham.
Not in the Premier League, I don't think.
No, in the Premier League.
Premier League. Sorry, I thought you meant
Premier League. Yeah.
Man United.
Man United 7, Brentford 6, Fulham 6, Southampton 4. I mean, that's basically in the middle of the docks. Brighton have got 3. The Etihad's 2, bottom of the list.
Again, but that's you have to get a taxi to get to the Etihad to get from the town centre. It's the right paying.
Who's third?
27. Third, Arsenal 33.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, thank you very much, Bungus. That's very, very kind of you. Excellent. Well, let's leave it there and say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yeah, I think if you just mentioned that,
Bungus says hi, lads.
Some nutter has sent us a $5, so people do care. We can't just skip over that, Sam, when someone sends money. Jesus, we ain't that big time. Thank you very much, Bungus.
I never know what to
do. His name is Wong as well. Wonga. There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I never know what to do. I'm crap at taking compliments. It says, "Lol, watching on the TV with a cuppa and a bowl of bickies. Question from me and Charlie Clark: are we keeping Neves over the summer?" Neves went years ago. Maybe means Cunha, but the answer is obviously no. We'll say goodbye to Jack Williams.
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.